Good morning to you. You're listening to One for the Truth broadcast. It is January the 14th, 2017. Just a few days away. Let me do a little adjustment here. All right, we're just a few days away here from the inauguration. Thought I would get on here this morning, talk a little bit about the present truth in the Bible. And I had a little topic today. Let God be true, but every man a liar. So now I pose the question is, are you a man or a son? Have you been born of the water and of the Spirit, which makes you God's son? Or are you born of man? Are you of the Adamic nature? Are you seeking His righteousness, that righteousness that comes only from God? Are you trying to seek your own righteousness, which again I've said many times about Mr. Trump making the statement that he's never asked God for forgiveness, that he just tries to do a better job the next time if he makes a mistake. Well, a mistake, it's not a mistake. If you knew it was wrong to start with, it's called willful sin. And God doesn't go for that willful sin. But this morning I was thinking, we still have so many on this Trump train. And I've said many times it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who got in there. There's an agenda. The devil has an agenda. I mean, we can contribute it all to man. We can say it's all man's fault. You can get caught up in this division in the world of it's the right's fault, it's the left's fault, it's the liberals' fault, it's the progressives' fault, it's so-and-so's fault. But all have sinned and come short of His glory. But controlling it all, many don't want to believe it. You don't believe it then, that's fine. But controlling it all, the top puppet master, the one at the very top pulling the strings below all those beneath, it's the devil himself. But I was thinking this morning, I said, it's troubling to still think we hear about many conspiracies. It's become trendy now. Now, it's trendy here in the past couple months to talk about everything's fake. It's all fake news. Nothing's real. It's all fake. Nothing can be substantiated. Nothing can be proven. And of course, unbelievers all definitely used to think of the Bible that way. Say, oh, it's fake. So you're just dead in the spirit if you can't see the living word in this hour. But to now pass off everything as fake is a way to discount anything that anyone says. And I see that this, Mr. Trump, and let me say again, I've said before, he's being propped up. Satan being the god of this world, and Trump being put in, here we have a war president coming in, okay? And there was a band a long time back that had lyrics that said, we're fighting with the gods of war. The gods of war. That's what we got coming. And what we have coming in is probably the biggest fraud, the biggest deception that there's ever been. Ever been. And, you know, the coming collapse of the United States, the economy and stuff, it will not be stopped. Trump won't stop it. If anything, he'll just add more and more to it. But he's not going to come riding in on a big white horse and be your savior. He has no intention of saving you. He's no Robin Hood. He's just going to be Robin. Okay? Robin without the hood. The reason he's not going to be any Robin Hood, because Robin Hood took from the wealthy to give to the poor. He's not going to do that. He's going to take from the poor. He's going to take from the middle class. He's going to squeeze anything out of everyone underneath him to give to the rich. But many are deceived. They're deceived by the God of this world. They're deceived by the promise of riches and prosperity. And they think this man is going to do it for them. And that's why I had the topic really today. Let God be true, but every man a liar. It's outside God's word, outside his truth. It's nothing but deception and falsehoods. And it doesn't matter where it comes from. And whether it's coming from completely outside in the world or whether it's coming from so-called worldly churches today, your organized religions that are steeped with paganism and traditions of men. And infected. But holding in my hand, you know, I did a little bit of research. It doesn't take that much. It doesn't take that much at all. You know, the Bible says, prove all things. Just don't take people's words for things. Prove all things. And when you have that true Holy Ghost in your life that's leading, guiding you into all truth, it is your protection from deception. Yeah, there's so many today that want to claim that they got the truth, and I'm not just talking about biblical truth. I'm talking about the truth in the world. They got the real story and the real scoop and all this stuff. And that's another thing. It's just become trendy. When everyone now says they have the truth, so everyone can't be right. Just like the Bible saying there's one Lord, one faith, one baptism. And there's one church. There's not two. It's not 100. It's not 1,000. It's not 10,000. There's one true body, one true church. And it ain't an organization. And I don't care what these people out there say. Just because they call themselves by a certain name, name their church a certain name, they think they have truth. It's all going to fail. If you speak not according to his word, there's no light in them. Doesn't matter how much they present themselves as an angel of light. Don't know how much good they sing. Have a great program, have such great entertainment. Doesn't matter how much of a move of the Spirit they claim to have in their services. One word off is Satan's kingdom. That's how deep the deception can get. And I might just do a little, I only have 45-minute segments of my broadcasts. That's what I pay for. I pay very minimum for this broadcast to go out. And I'm self-supporting this broadcast, so I only have 45-minute segments. But today I may just run some marathon and have one broadcast after another today. Seeing if my body holds out to the constant sitting in front of this mic. But be prepared, because this may just be what happens today. No better day than a day like this when it's cold outside, it's icy and snowy, and there's nothing else to do. There's nothing better to do than to listen to the things of God. You should be doing that every day. You should be doing as the Bible says and praying without ceasing. And that's keeping God in your thoughts continuously. And I can guarantee you, if you do that, you'll never go astray. Okay, that was kind of weird. All right. Looks like I lost connection there for a second. Hopefully I'm still broadcasting on the air. Somebody must not like what I'm saying out there. Who knows? Usually don't have that problem here on Spreaker. Let me get to the chase before we run out of time on this broadcast. Let every man be a liar. Let God be true, but every man a liar. And holding in my hand, after doing a little bit of research, doesn't take much. This is an article from Newsweek, August of 2016. This is before the elections. And I think what's been so troubling too about it is that, and many people said this, some care, some don't, but you should care. But many said, why hasn't this man that's going into office presented his tax reports? Let's see your taxes. Let's see what's going on there. He said, well, I don't have to show my taxes. I can't show my taxes because they're under audit. I'm being audited, or some excuse for not showing him. But see, it's pretty clear that this man is not the businessman the successful businessman that he says he is. And all people have to do is just do a little bit of research. It ain't like this is, 20 years ago when the web was first coming into its infancy, and you couldn't find a whole lot on the web. It's just being developed, and there was new web pages being added every day. And unlike then, now it's a wealth of information. A wealth of information to the point that libraries, unless you just like the physical feel of a book, they've completely or becoming obsolete. There's many who argue with that, but I'm holding here a Newsweek article, and it says the many business failures explained, and this was originally put up by Kurt Ingenwald in August of 2016. Okay. I want to see where I want to start with this. People want to say this is pure propaganda, but you could. This man's done very well with looking up the actual business deals that he's done. So I'm going to go ahead and read this. Donald Trump was thundering about a minority group linking its members to murderers and what he predicted would be an epic crime wave in America. His opponents raged in response, some slamming him as a racist, but Trump dismissed him as blind, ignorant of the real world. No, this is not a scene from a recent rally in which the Republican nominee for president stoked fears of violence from immigrants or Muslims. The year was 1993, and his target was Native Americans, particularly those running casinos, who Trump was telling a congressional hearing are sucking up to criminals. What he'll soon be doing. Trump, who at the time was a major casino operator, appeared before a panel on Indian gaming with a prepared statement that was level-headed and raised regulatory concerns in a mature way. But in his opening words, Trump announced that his written speech was boring. So he went off script and even questioned the heritage of some Native American casino operators, saying they don't look like Indians, and launching into a tirade about rampant criminal activities on reservations. Well, how about the mob that's coming into the White House? Trump claims that his business acumen and personal wealth are ample evidence that he'll be a great president. Goes on to say, if Indian gaming continues as a threat, it is my opinion that it will blow. It will blow sky high. It will be the biggest scandal ever, or one of the biggest scandals since Al Capone. No, that's going to be his presidency. Trump said that an Indian chief is going to tell mobster Joey Killer to please get off his reservation is almost unbelievable to me. His words were, as so often the case, incendiary. Lawmakers latching onto his claim to know more than law enforcement about ongoing criminal activity at Indian casinos challenged Trump to bring his information to the FBI. One attacked Trump's argument as the most irresponsible testimony he had ever heard. Connecticut Governor Lyle Wickner Jr., whom Trump had praised in his testimony, responded by calling him a dirtbag and a bigot. Trump immediately changed his mind about the governor, proclaiming Wickner to be a fat slob who couldn't get an elected dog catcher in Connecticut. For opponents of Trump's presidential run, this contretemps about American Indians might seem like a distant but familiar echo of the racism charges that he had dodged, that had dogged his campaign, including his repeated taunting of Senator Elizabeth Warren as Pocahontas because she claims Native ancestry. But in this case, there was more to it than that. Trump, through his offensive tantrum, was throwing away financial opportunities, yet another reminder from all his boasting of his acumen and flaunting of his wealth. The self-proclaimed billionaire has often been a lousy businessman. As Trump was integrating Native Americans before Congress, Other casino magnates were striking management agreements with them. Trump knew the business was there even when he was testifying, despite denying under oath that he had ever tried to arrange deals with Indian casinos. He had done just that a few months earlier, according to an affidavit from Richard Milanovic, the official from the Agu Caliente band of Calahulua Indians who met with Trump. Letters from the Trump Organization and phone records. The deal for the casino instead went to Caesar's World. In 2000, Trump won a contract to manage the casino for the 29 Palms Band of Mission Indians, but after Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts declared bankruptcy in 2004, the tribe paid Trump $6 million to go away. And in his purposeless, false, and inflammatory statements before Congress, Trump alienated politicians from around the world, including some who had the power to influence construction contracts, problems that could have been avoided if he had simply read his prepared speech rather than ad-libbing. Lost contracts, bankruptcies, defaults, deceptions, and indifference to investors. Trump's business career is a long list of such troubles according to regulatory, corporate, and court records, as well as sworn testimony and government investigative reports. Call it the art of the bad deal, one created by the arrogance and recklessness of a businessman whose main talent is self-promotion. He is also pretty good at self-deception and plain old deception. Trump is willing to claim success even when it's not there, according to his own statements. Quote, "I'm just telling you, you wouldn't say that you're failing." He said in a 2007 disposition when asked to explain why he would give an upbeat assessment of his business even if it was in trouble. If somebody said, "How you doing?" you're going to say, "You're doing good." Perhaps such dissembling is fine in polite cocktail party conversation, but in the business world it's called lying. And that's what you're going to get. And while Trump is quick to boast about his purported billions, prove his business acumen, his net worth is almost unknowable given the loose standards and numerous outright misrepresentations he has made over the years. In that 2007 disposition, Trump said he based estimates of his net worth at times on psychology and my own feelings. That's a quote. But these feelings were often wrong. In 2004, he presented unaudited financials to Deutsche Bank while seeking a loan, claiming his worth was $3.5 billion. The bank concluded Trump was, to say the least, puffing. It was put his net worth at $788 million, records show. Trump personally guaranteed $40 million in a loan to his company, so Deutsche coughed up the money. He later defaulted on that commitment. Trump's many misrepresentations of his success and his failures matter a lot. As a man who never held so much as a city council seat, there is little voters can examine to determine if he is competent to hold office. He has no voting record and presents few details about specific policies. Instead, he sells himself as qualified to run the country because he's a businessman who knows how to get things done, and his financial dealings are the only part of his background available to assess his competence to lead the country. And while Trump has a few successes in business, most of his ventures have been disasters. Ain't that something? And that's what majority of these people in this country today have voted this man in, because they think that he's such a great businessman and he's going to make America great again. He's going to be the end part of bankrupting the nation. I mean, the damage is already done and there's nothing he can do to correct it. Let me go on with this article. When he was ready for college, Trump wanted to be a movie producer, perhaps the first sign that he was far more interested in the glitz of business than the nuts and bolts. He applied to the University of Southern California to pursue a film career, but when that didn't work out, He attended Fordham University. 2 years later, he transferred to the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania and got a degree in economics. Trump boasted when he announced his candidacy last year that he made his money the old-fashioned way. But he is no Bill Gates or Mike Bloomberg, self-made billionaires who were mavericks, innovators in their fields. Instead, the Republican nominee's wealth his daddy made. Almost all of his best-known successes are attributable to his family ties or money given to him by his father. The son of wealthy developer Fred Trump, he went to work for his father's real estate business immediately after graduating from Wharton and found some small success by taking advantage of his father's riches and close ties to the power brokers in New York Democratic Party, particularly his decade-long friend Abe Beame, the former mayor of the city. Even with those advantages, a few of Trump's initial deals of his father's were busts based on the profits. His first project was revitalizing the Swifton Village apartment complex in Cincinnati, which his father had purchased for $5.7 million in 1962. After Trump finished his work, they sold the complex for $6.75 million, which, while appearing to be a small return, was a loss in constant dollars. The apartment buildings would have to sell for $7.9 million to have earned an actual profit. Still, Trump happily boasted about his supposed success with Swifton Village and about his surging personal wealth. He already ached to be part of the Manhattan elite rather than just be known as the son of a Brooklyn developer. So in 1970, he took another shot at joining the entertainment business by investing $70,000 to snag a co-producer's credit for a Broadway comedy called Paris Is Out. Once again, Trump failed. The play bombed, closing at just 96 performances. The next year, he moved to Manhattan from the outer boroughs, still largely dependent on Daddy. In 1972, Trump's father brought him into a limited partnership that developed and owned a senior citizen apartment complex in East Orange, New Jersey. Fred Trump owned 75%, but 2 years later shrunk his ownership to 27% by turning over the rest of his stake to two entities controlled by his son. Another 2 years passed, and then Fred Trump named him the beneficiary of a $1 million trust that provided him with $1.3 million in income over the next 5 years. In 1978, he boosted his son's fortunes again, hiring him as a consultant to help sell his ownership interest in a real estate partnership to the Grand Core Company and Port Electric Supply Corp. The deal was enormously lucrative for Donald Trump, particularly since it fell into his lap thanks to his family. Under the deal, Grand Core agreed to pay him an additional $190,000, while Port Electric kicked in $228,500. The payments were made over several years, but the value in the present-day dollars of the sum he received is $10.4 million. Despite having no real success of his own, by the late 70s, Trump was swaggering through Manhattan, gaining a reputation as a crass self-promoter. He hung out in a fancy night spot in the club where he was chums with prominent New Yorkers like Roy Cohn, the one-time aide to Senator John McCartney, who was one of the city's most feared and politically connected attorneys. Cohn became one of the developer's longtime mentors, encouraging the holistic personality that showed itself all the way back in second grade when Trump punched his music teacher. Soon Trump gained the public recognition he craved through a wholly owned corporation called Wembley Realty. Trump struck a partnership with a subsidiary of Hyatt Hotels. That partnership, Regency Lexington, purchased the struggling Commodore Hotel for redevelopment in the Grand Hyatt, New York, a deal Trump crowed about when he was announced he was running for president. He failed to mention that this deal was once again largely attributable to Daddy, who co-guaranteed with Hyatt a construction loan for $70 million and arranged a credit line for his boy with Chase Manhattan Bank. The credit line was a favor to the Trump family, which had brought huge profits to the bank according to regulatory records. The revolving loan was set up without even requiring a written agreement. Topping off the freebies and special deals that flowed Trump's way, the city tossed in a 40-year tax abatement. Trump's success with the Hyatt was simply the result of money from his dad's bank, Hyatt, and the taxpayers of New York City. Despite the outward signs of success, Trump's personal finances were a disaster. In 1978, the year his father set up that sweet credit line at Chase, Donald's tax return showed personal losses of $406,386. That would be $1.5 million in present-day dollars. Things grew worse in 1979, where he reported income of negative $3.4 million, $11.2 million in constant dollars. All of this traced back to big losses in 3 real estate partnerships interests he owned in Chase. With Trump sucking wind and rapidly drawing down his line of credit, he turned again to Daddy, who in 1980 agreed to lend him $7.5 million. All these names and numbers can grow confusing for voters with little exposure to the business world. So to sum it all up, Trump is rich because he was born rich, and without his father's repeatedly bailing him out, he would likely file for personal bankruptcy before he was 35. As his personal finances are falling apart, Trump got a big idea for how to make money: casinos. In early 1980, he received a phone call from Alan Lapidus, an architect who was a friend of Fred Trump. Lapidus gave Trump a hot tip. There was a parcel of land available in Atlantic City. It was zoned for use by a casino hotel. Gaming had been legalized in New Jersey in 1978, and casinos in Atlantic City were already reporting big business. At that time, Trump was deep in plans to turn Bonwit Teller's flagship department store into Trump Tower, a transformation achieved with the help of Roy Cohn, who fought in the courts to win Trump a huge tax abatement. Still, Trump jumped on the casino idea and had a lawyer reach out to the owners to negotiate a lease deal. In August 1980, the Trump Plaza Corporation was incorporated in New Jersey, and 9 months later applied for a casino license. Trump wanted to build a 39-story, 612-room hotel and casino, but the banks refused to finance his venture, so instead he struck a partnership with Harrah's Entertainment, in which the global gaming company and the subsidiary of Holiday Inn, Inc. put up all the money in exchange for Trump developing the property. In 1984, Harrah's at Trump Plaza opened, and Trump seed. He had wanted his name to be the marquee brand, and even though Harrah's had an international reputation at casinos, and he had none. He even delayed building a garage because his name was not being used prominently enough in the marketing. According to court papers, Harrah's spent $9.3 million promoting Trump's name, giving the New York developer a reputation in casino business he had never had before, and Harrah's quickly learned the price now. With Trump able to argue he knew casinos, financing opportunities that did not exist before opened up, and he was able to use Harrah's promotion to him as a lever against the entertainment company. Soon after that first casino opened, Trump took advantage of his new credibility with financial backers and interested in the gaming business to purchase a nearly completed Hilton Atlantic City hotel for just $320 million. He renamed it Trump Castle. The business plan was ludicrous. Trump had not only doubled down his bet on Atlantic City casinos, but was now operating 2 businesses in direct competition with each other. When Trump Castle opened in 1985, Harrah's decided to ditch Trump and sold his interest in the joint venture to him for $220 million. Still, he wanted more in Atlantic City, specifically the Taj Mahal, the largest casino complex ever, which Resorts International was building. This made the Casino Control Commission nervous because it would have meant that the financial security of Atlantic City would be riding on the back of one man. But Trump, ain't that something? What about our nation? But Trump brushed those concerns aside at February 1988 licensing hearing. After all, his argument went, he was Donald Trump. After all, his argument went, he was Donald Trump. He would contain costs, he said, because banks could be practically throwing money at him and at prime rates. He would be a solid financial foundation because the banks loved him so much. Unlike lots of other companies and casinos that use below investment grade high interest junk bonds for the financing, I'm talking about banking institutions, not these junk bonds, which are ridiculous, he testified. But Trump's Bragging proved empty. No financial institution gave him anything. Instead, he financed the deal with $675 million in junk bonds, agreeing to pay an astonishing 14% interest at about 50% more than what he had projected. That pushed Trump's total debt for his 3 casinos to $1.2 billion. For the renamed Trump Taj Mahal to break even, it would have to pull in as much as $1.3 million a day in revenue, more than any casino ever. Disaster hit fast, as it was predicted by some Wall Street analysts. Trump's vicarious appetite cannibalized his other casinos. It was as if Trump had tipped the Atlantic City boardwalk and slid all his customers at the Trump Castle and Trump Plaza down to the Taj. Revenues for the 2 similar casinos plummeted at a combined $58 million that first year. Meanwhile, another Trump disaster was brewing. Eastern Airlines, which had been struggling, put its Northeastern Air Shuttle up for sale. Trump persuaded the banks to lend him $380 million to purchase a route, and in June 1989, the Trump shuttle began flying. Trump introduced the airline as his usual style, by insulting the competition. At an elegant event at Logan Airport in Boston, Trump took the stage and suggested that the other airline, with a northern shuttle, Pan Am flew unsafe planes. Pan Am didn't have enough cash, he said, and so it doesn't spend as much as the Trump shuttle on maintenance. I'm not criticizing Pan Am, Trump told the assembled crowd. I'm just speaking facts. But Trump offered no proof, and others in the airline industry seethed. Talking about possible crashes was bad for everyone's business. He promised to transform his shuttle into a luxury service. Bathroom fixtures were colored gold. The plane interiors were decked out with mahogany veneer. He was spending $1 million to update each of the planes, which was eventually worth only about $4 million. With those changes, he boasted he would increase the shuttle's market share from 55 to 75%. But just like the casinos, Trump was in a business that he knew nothing about. Customers on a 1-hour flight from Washington to New York didn't want luxury. They wanted reliability and competitive prices. Trump's shuttle never turned a profit, but it didn't have much of a chance. Even as he was preening about his successes, Trump's businesses were falling apart and would soon bring the shuttle crashing down with them. At 1:40 p.m. on October 10, 1989, the 4-blade rotor and tail rotor broke off of a helicopter flying above the pine woodlands near Fork River, New Jersey. The craft plunged 2,800 feet to the ground, killing all 5 passengers, among them three of Trump's top casino executives. With the best managers of the casinos dead, Trump, for the first time, took responsibility for running the day-to-day operations in Atlantic City. His mercurial and belligerent style made a quick impact. Some top executives walked, unwilling to put up with his eccentrics, while Trump booted others. The casinos were struggling so badly that Trump was sweating whether a few big winners might pull him under. He once hovered over a table at the plaza, anxiously watching a Tokyo real estate tycoon who had won big at the casino in the past. Executives at the casino were humiliated since Trump was signaling that he was frightened customers might win. The Japanese tycoon lost that night. But early 1990, as financial prospects at the casinos worsened, Trump began bad-mouthing the executives who had lied, laying blame on them, although the cause of his problems was the precarious, debt-laden business structure he had built. And I'm going to stop right there because I'm running out of time on this broadcast. But I'm going to pick it right back up on this next 45-minute segment if you'd like to tune in. But it's obvious here, reading this article and reading about his failed business ventures, that people have been played, they've been snookered, and they're going to find that out as time has gone on. But this whole point of naming this every man a liar, let God be true, but every man a liar. This seems to be the man to get the most attention in this country today. And the Bible says, prove all things. Prove all things. So we're going to prove this today that Trump's not who he says he is. Trump's not going to do what he says he's going to do. If you're joining me live, tune right back in. I'll come right back in a few minutes. And it'll say, let God be true, every man a liar, part 2. Won't you join me?